Welcome to another episode of Golden State Warriors podcast. I am Brandon Franio. Joined by me is my co-host Jordan Medeiros, and we also have a couple special guests tonight to celebrate tonight's win and moving on to the NBA Finals for the sixth time in 8 years. Everybody, introduce yourself. Let you know where everybody can find you, and we'll go from there. Bashar, go ahead first.
What's up, everybody? It's Bashar at 49er Minded on Twitter, at 49, Instagram. Find me at 49er Minded. Also, my YouTube channel if you're watching there. I talk Niners. I definitely talk Warriors, and just I'm excited, man. We're back in the finals. Let's go.
Yeah, buddy.
Rohan.
What's up, everybody? Most of y'all will know me from the 49ers side. I cover the 49ers from 49ers Web Zone. You can find me there. You can find me on my YouTube channel at Rohan Chakravarti. I'm streaming this as well, so be sure to tune in, hit the like button, and subscribe. And then my Twitter handle is on the screen at Rohan Chakrav. Please stay tuned for all the Bay Area content. And Brandon, thank you so much for having me on.
No problem. Corey?
Hi, I've been on here a handful of times now. You can find me on Twitter at sport_fanatic and the number 10. Any type of sports that you want to talk about, anything from basketball to football to baseball to hockey to golf to tennis to soccer, Australian rules, football, rugby, any type of sports that you want to discuss, just follow me on Twitter, and we'll start up a conversation.
Sir, TJ, go ahead.
TJ, Bay Area sports fanatic. I have not started my my sports life yet. I just do business stuff on the internet. But I will be short. I've been a lifelong Warriors fan all the way back to when we drafted Chris Webber. Back when I was like, all the way back then when Avery Johnson was our starting point guard. That's how far I go back to the Warriors. 49er fan, and just looking to get into the community and spread some cheer, man. And let's take this thing.
Nice. And last but not least, our favorite viewer, always tuning in whenever we're live, especially on the 49er side too. Our guy, 49er Media. Where can they find you?
So you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at 49er Media, and then I just started my podcast a few months ago, mainly 49ers, but first take Niners, space between each word.
Yes, sir.
Thanks
Beautiful.
for having me on.
Thanks for being on.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for joining. Let's get into it, guys.
Whoop that ass.
The Warriors take the series, win the series 4-1, win tonight's game 120 to 110, I believe it was.
120, 110, yep.
Yeah. Klay Thompson came out on Fuego. What do you see different from him compared to last game? 49er Media, let's go with you first, my guy.
This game, I feel like he was a lot more comfortable. And just from the bat, he really just started off really, really hot. I think what also worked better is just in this game, he went back to just giving him the ball and with the catch and shoot and him just shooting lights out, shooting the ball well.
All right. TJ, any?
Well, what I noticed that Steve Kerr went with a game plan to get him started early, as we all know from the last couple of games that he has been doing pretty bad in the first half. So I guess the game plan was intentional to get him some open looks and get him started early and get Game 6 Klay back. To close this thing out. And they executed really well, and they used Curry as a decoy, to get him a lot of open threes. And I think pretty much that the game plan was to get him started in the first half because we couldn't afford to get off to a bad start like we did last game.
Yes, sir. Corey.
From what I saw, I was kind of running around. I did see a lot of the first half. It just seemed like he wasn't the games prior. Just seemed like he was forcing shots. This one, he just seemed more relaxed. He seemed like he was just getting into a rhythm early. I saw Steph hit his first three, I believe. I don't know if I wasn't paying enough attention if he ended up hitting another one, but Clay just seemed comfortable. And when you get a guy like Clay who gets comfortable early, he's going to start hitting shots over and over and over again. And I was just very impressed of the start that they had. They kind of gave it up a little bit there, end of the first half a little bit. It's kind of going back and forth. Third quarter ended up getting a little sideways, and then they finished it off. But I like Clay in general. He got a little cold there late. He did hit a clutch three there that I think was the dagger. But all in all, I think he played very, very well tonight.
Rohan?
Yeah, I agree with a couple of things that other people said. When you talk about Klay Thompson, this entire playoffs, right? It's his first kind of stretch back. And so we saw Klay Thompson really hunting for a shot early. There's kind of been that one game every series where Klay Thompson's looked to hunt a shot. In this series, it was game 3. In last series, it was the early parts, right? Games 1 and 2, when the not 49ers, my bad. When the Warriors struggled a little bit, Thompson shot 6 of 19 and 5 of 19 in the first 2 games. But when you see Thompson hit those early shots, like someone else said, you see him get comfortable. And when I say get comfortable, I don't necessarily mean he's not taking as many shots, but the shot selection seems better. He's looking to get more in rhythm rather than trying to force it off the dribble or something like that, something where he's not as comfortable. And really that helps the rest of the flow of the offense, right? Because a lot of attention towards Klay Thompson means that even when Curry's having somewhat of a poor day, everyone else can step up. Jordan Poole, 6 of 8, 16 points. Kevon Looney had another monster game with 18 rebounds. Even Andrew Wiggins had 18 points, while Draymond Green was very efficient with 17 points. Really, it opens up the rest of the team. I also really like something that someone said, in that the Warriors started early. We always talk about third quarter Warriors. Today it was second quarter Warriors, 41 points in the second quarter. You never see them. It's not that you never see them, but it's like that slow start in a way is symbolized by that amazing third quarter. It's glad that they got ahead of the ship earlier today and kind of put this one to rest early.
Yes, sir. Bashar, any other thing that you want to add on to that?
About in general, though, I just like the whole ball movement. It was excellent. I mean, I don't know that when we get going with that ball movement, I don't think there's any team in this league that can stop us. Mm-hmm. And I love seeing Draymond's energy out there. To see him this aggressive on offense meant a whole lot for this game. It just means a whole lot for this, run into the NBA Finals and to get another ring for that squad. That's Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Curry, Iguodala. For them to get another ring, that would be huge. So I just love the energy, and hopefully they sustain it. And I liked it a
lot. Jordan, you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I enjoyed Klay's game tonight. Like everyone said, he just felt comfortable. He let the game come to him tonight. He didn't force anything. And, his defense was on par, I think, tonight. And, I'm just excited that they're headed to the finals now. And I'm ready for Boston because I believe Boston will end it and be in the finals.
Yeah. Okay. Joey brings up a good point. I was just going to bring this up right now. The Warriors had 36 assists. So that ball movement was just on fuego tonight. And that's what Warriors basketball is about. You didn't see this most of the series. But I mean, making this happen and the shooting coming down. I mean, you're like, this is Warriors basketball. This is what we've been missing.
Only 7 turnovers.
Only 7 turnovers. Yep.
And 16 for 16 from the free throw line.
Yes.
That's a underrated stat right there.
That's crazy. That's something to point out for sure, because most of the times we're not perfect from the free throw line.
And Wiggins was 4 for 4.
Yes.
Yeah, he was. Yep.
And honestly, they had a good game. Just the third quarter they got stagnant.
You know who also surprised me as well today? Draymond Green.
Belly?
Yeah, Draymond. He was so aggressive
Belly,
today.
Yeah. Draymond went 6-7 from the field. He was 1-1 on 3-point land and 4-4 in free throws. You don't see that from Draymond very often.
So keep telling you, better when he scores.
finishing with 17, 6, and 9. Damn. I mean that for sure came in clutch as well in tonight's game to put away the Dallas Mavericks. Let
Don't.
me
I
ask you guys. Go ahead, Core.
was going to say, don't short Moody with his 11 minutes and 7 points either. He came up huge in that
Yes.
first when he came
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I was just going to bring that up too. Moses Moody comes in, puts in some work, and I mean, I think we all said this like during the game. I mean, he's going to be a freaking star with this team. I
in.
mean, I can really see it.
Him and Kaminga, man, the future, man, looks really
Yeah.
bright.
Minga, Poole,
And hopefully Wiseman.
Wiseman. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys this. I'm gonna go ahead
Again.
and throw it to Corey first. What do you think about Steve Kerr starting off Bailey first instead of Kaminga?
Well, Kaminga never actually saw the floor, to my knowledge, except maybe
In
the
garbage
last,
time.
Garbage time.
3 minutes of garbage time. I was a little surprised to see Bielitsa and Moody and a couple other guys, even JTA, I think got a little bit of play there early. I think that might have had to do with Draymond getting the early fouls. I think he ended up with 5. But I was surprised, but it just seemed like Steve Kerr was coaching very loosely tonight. He just no pressure, just kind of go in, play your game. You got the home crowd. They're still undefeated at home in the postseason. I said, this is our comfort zone. This is the first playoff run at Chase. Let the crowd kind of feed into it and showed a lot of confidence in the young man. And I think, if you're looking at the stats there, he went 11 minutes, 2 or 3 from the field. Hit his one and only 3-point attempt, and he hit 2 free throws. He was a +4 for the 7 points. I think he could be very key in the finals with some minutes, because this is going to be a very grueling series against whoever they end up playing. Probably going to be Boston, but we'll see. But we have a whole week to try to dissect that.
Yes. Let me kick it over to you, Fortnite Media. What did you think of Looney's performance tonight? And I mean, do you think most of Looney's performance was the reason why we also won as well?
So I thought Looney, again, off the glass, tremendous job, was fighting for the ball constantly, was very, very aggressive on that. I thought at times he could have gone and just take the shot or gone and got the layup, but overall, I thought he did a very nice job tonight.
All right.
I want to add again, I used to be Looney's biggest hater, for those that don't know, and especially when we drafted Wiseman. I wanted nothing to do with Looney, especially going into the season. I said it on my channel. Actually, I said it that I wasn't too big on Looney and I hated on him. I'm sorry, guys. 18 rebounds, and 10 points tonight. I mean, the offensive rebounding game has stepped up with him, obviously, but just the rest of the team. And we brick all these crazy 3-pointers, but then we get the rebound and get another shot and pass it out to somebody else. And Looney's a big part of that. Looney's a huge part of that. Hats off to Looney. Tip my hat to Looney because, man, it's, sure, we got all these really good players around him, but he's stepping up big, man. And we didn't pick. I was really frustrated when we didn't pick up another big man when they ruled Wiseman out. But hey, man, so far so good. So let's get this ring, baby.
Looney's beast. It's proving us all wrong.
Yes, sir. I mean, just out of the whole game, this was a fun one to watch. They came out hot. They looked like themselves, like I said before. Corey, you have any idea why Steph kind of struggled a little bit tonight? I mean, it wasn't a big factor to where it would affect the Warriors, but what do you think that was about? I know we were focusing on Clay a lot, but Steph didn't start warming up until like towards the end of the second half. What are your thoughts on that?
I think he hit his first three or his second three tonight. Again, I wasn't following close enough in the first half. I was in the middle of taking care of a couple things. I just think, compliment with what we were talking about with Clay a minute ago. I don't think he had the rhythm early, and
Yeah.
I think both of them can be very streaky. He went 5 of 17. He was still a plus 11. He did have 9 dimes tonight, which was very, very crucial. But I think the other thing is that the Mavericks were trying to focus on double teaming him as much as possible. So the shots that he was taking seemed to be a lot more, degree of difficulty, a much higher than, say, an open Clay or straight isolation Clay, where he's just kind of one-on-one and he can just pull back and shoot over one guy instead of trying to not get trapped with two. But I think a lot of it was Mavericks were still focusing on Steph, double teaming them and everything of that. Long and the short of it is that Dallas doesn't have the numbers. They don't have the playmakers. They're mostly an outside shooting team. So, you hear the cliche, live and die by the three. That's kind of what Dallas still is. They are still an up-and-coming team. I think they showed a lot of grit in getting through Phoenix in the second round, but they just ran into a much more superior team in Golden State, and they weren't able to counter it like they were with Dallas or with Phoenix, who shoots like the fewest threes in the NBA. So there's a few things there that didn't quite work, but I think, to answer your question, it is more of just trying to get through the double team, because if you watched Curry was getting double teamed for the majority of that game.
Yeah. Staying on Steph Curry, SG asked thoughts on Steph Curry winning the Magic Johnson Most Valuable Player Award in the Western Conference Finals. Let me hand it over to you, Rohan. What are your thoughts on that? And finally, Steph Curry wins some type of MVP.
First one.
He's a 2-time NBA MVP.
He's a regular season
MVP team. Yes.
Yeah, he's got plenty of MVPs. More to add to his
Yeah,
collection.
It's a very interesting way to kind of win that first award, right? Obviously you win the regular season MVPs. And the funny thing is, like, people thought it could have gone to Kevon Looney. Obviously, I thought Steph Curry, like, in this case, you kind of go over the impact, right? Steph Curry was the leading scorer for the Warriors in the postseason. 26.7 points, dropped to 23 after today, but still the leading scorer for the Warriors in the postseason. Obviously the most impactful. And I mean, it finally he gets an award that's somewhat reflective of his impact on the court, because his impact isn't always shown by a stat sheet. His impact isn't always shown by the amount of threes he makes or something like that. But just his movement frees up so many other guys, and that's one of the main reasons why 5 to 7 Warriors can play super well on a night, even when Steph Curry's off, and they can win the game. It's because there's so much extra movement created, so many extra open shots, and it's also been an underrated part of our formula for assists, because when one guy is heavily covered, the rest of the guys are open. You have good passing like the Warriors do with Warriors basketball, and you get open shots.
Yeah, great answer. Shout out to Lo the Truth in the chat. Says new award and Steph is the first to win it. Definitely true. And when you mentioned something about Steph Curry's movement, the way he frees himself to get open for shots, and a lot of people don't know this, that's an elite trait of his game. And it's almost like, like a Jerry Rice, with his crisp, with the way he could run routes. He could run the whole route tree, and he was so crisp at running his routes. And it's very nice to see on the court, man. So.
Yeah, it is definitely for sure.
And
I
just wanted to add too, one of the things that a lot of people don't talk about is when you talk about Steph Curry is reverse gravity. Most basketball teams, the gravity is to the basket and then back out. With the Warriors and Steph in particular, it's the opposite. Everybody is rushing to the 3-point line. All the gravity is going out that way, and then it leaves the inside open. And there's very few players that have that effect. That's what this other gentleman was talking about with the impact. But when you have reverse gravity going to the 3-point line, that makes everybody else better. It, probably raises everybody's points total up maybe by about 3 to 4, which is more than enough to win a game. And that's one of the things that when you talk about impact on the court and what MVPs do, which really means makes everybody else better, there's very few players that can match that.
And that was shown big time in this series because Dallas had no answer down low. They didn't have the size or anything like that. Just to piggyback off of what TJ was saying, it was backdoors and lobs and everything all series. It was just unfortunate they weren't able to complete the sweep a couple days ago just because of the 23s, but a moot point at this point.
And Brandon, real quick, let me just chime in on that point because Corey made a fantastic point there. Yes. And it's not just that the Mavericks haven't been rebound this series. The Mavericks aren't a good rebounding team in general. They're 24th in the NBA in rebounds with 43, and really, they're in that bottom echelon. And then in the playoffs itself, they are the second to worst team in total rebounding. So in a way, when the Warriors lack size in previous series, this was one of the more favorable matchups as opposed to the Suns, who had Ayton and multiple other bigs. Now, this won't necessarily be the same formula for the next series because Miami and Boston both are pretty good rebounding teams. Boston is 5th. Miami is 22nd, but you know that they have the physicality required for that rebounding composed team. So I think that that's the difference in a way from these two series. Good point, Corey.
Thank you, Rohan, as was yours.
So I also wanted to talk about too is the Warriors shot a lot more in the paint too as well, which helped them gain that lead and that momentum. What were your guys' thoughts about that? Because I know last game it looked like they were shooting a lot of threes that weren't just going in at all. Well, go ahead.
Well, see that was the Mavericks, Jason Kidd's strategy, was to guard the 3-point line, double team Steph before he got to the 3-point line. So that opened up the floor. So of course we had to take advantage of that. Yes. And it had been drilled into them so much to take away the 3, because that's really the only way a team can really kind of hang with us is if they stop the 3 ball, even if they are giving up the 2, because if you're shooting, what is it, 40% from the 3-point line, then the other team has to be shooting 65 to 70% from the 2-point line to be keeping up, so it's a sound strategy, but what happens is it opens up the floor and we just go crazy on the inside. We get a couple of stops and it's still the same effect of us hitting 3 or 4 threes in a row. So that's why you saw such weak defense on the paint, because they were spread out, they were guarding and running to the 3-point line, things like that.
Warriors shot 38.9%. Dallas shot 40.5%. Dallas still hit 17 threes. But the other thing that I don't think any of us have said, 36 assists on 40. What was the total shots? I mean, it was absurd. The Warriors get into that 30 assist game. It's it gets almost impossible. And they 36 assists on 36 shots. Or 88, 45 made baskets. 36 of those were assisted on, and they shot 51%. It's a losing formula for any opponent. It really is. And they only turn the ball over 11 times. You keep it around 12, turnovers at a dozen or less. Good luck. I mean, that's how you beat the Warriors, is force them into stupid mistakes, turnovers, points in transition, the works. So.
I was curious, what did you guys think of Bjelica's the defense on Luka Doncic? Anybody want to speak on that?
Let's go with 49er media. Been kind of quiet.
Yeah.
So I thought Bjelica, I do want to also kind of get to that point before when we were talking about a little bit early about him, but I think it made sense for him to actually play just because he showed some really good play in the last game near the end, when the Warriors almost made the amazing comeback. So I wasn't surprised that he got the minutes, and I thought he did a really solid job on Luka. I mean, Luka, for the most part of the game, had like 6 points in the first half or something. So I thought
didn't score in the second quarter. 6 points were all in the first.
But Shar, you want to do it?
I thought he played lights out on defense.
That's good. Rohan, let's get it over to you. We don't have anything to add on that one?
Yeah, not necessarily solely on Bielitsa, but just on the team and rebounding in general, right? TJ was bringing it up how the Warriors kind of dominated in the paint, which isn't necessarily always their motto, given how they're a running gun team, love to shoot threes. But the Mavericks are that team as well, and the Mavericks shot better from the three this game. 40.5% as opposed to 38.9% on higher volume as well. 6 more shots. Why did the Warriors win this game? Well, they were 59.6% from twos, and they beat the Mavericks 50 to 32 points in the paint. That was the key part. The Warriors really just used their physical presence this series, not even just this game, but this series, something that they aren't necessarily known for, and that was just an important facet of the series. And the one thing that really adds on to this that we talked about earlier, that 16 of 16 from the free throw line. When you're dominating the paint and when you're automatic from the free throw line, that just increases the aggression of the team, puts you closer, and gets you easier buckets. I thought that was very important.
Hey, great point. Yeah. I want to mention something about Curry because you guys were talking about him earlier and it slipped my mind, but I love that play where Curry ran out on that 3-point shot and blocked that dude that was attempting a 3-pointer. That was just such incredible defensive hustle and just an amazing play for Curry, who gets knocked by a lot of people who hate him, I guess, and they say he doesn't play defense or something like that. But in general, he had a pretty damn good game. I mean, his shooting wasn't that good, but we're talking about plus 11 for Steph, 15 points, not the best, but 9 assists, so and 2 steals, so on 1 block. So again, shout out to Steph, our Western Conference Finals MVP, and hopefully NBA Finals MVP. Wearing his jersey as usual, number 30.
Let me ask a question. So let's talk about Draymond. I always mention, when Draymond scores more, it's pretty. They're more unstoppable than usual. I think he had his best game this series. Do you guys agree? Do you think he had his best game tonight in this series?
I definitely agree that he had his best game. I think he was maybe 4 or 5 rebounds shy of a triple-double and maybe 1 assist, high double figures. But the most important thing about Draymond's game, as was evident when he wasn't playing and we lost all those games in a row, is that he was orchestrating the offense and making the right pass, which really, like I said before, I didn't know, but, almost right on the stats I gave, Dallas was hitting 40% from 3-point land, and we were at 60% from 2, and that's how you have to beat that when they're shooting that high. And the big reason for that was because Draymond was making a lot of the right passes, he was making all the rotations. And see, another thing that is very important to the Warriors that people don't talk about, and they don't give Looney and Draymond the credit that's due, is the screen setting. Our offense is very reliant upon getting screen set, right? And that's another aspect of Draymond's game that is super important to us that nobody talks about.
Yeah. They took that 1 3-pointer away from Curry, right, on that one Draymond screen. Yeah,
no,
he just moved a little bit, and that movement was what got him. But
challenge on that too.
Yeah, what's his face? Literally pushed into Draymond to lose his balance.
Okay.
It was Jordan. It was Jordan Poole that took that 3, by the way.
Yeah.
You get that confused sometimes when you see him out there.
It was same
both
person.
have a 3.
Yeah, but
splash party.
I mean, I want to go back to Loath of Truth. I think. Where is he at? Right here.
So, did you see those interesting comments earlier, Brandon? You don't have to read them or say them.
Yeah, I did.
Typical.
So So he said Steve Kerr is a mastermind on his rotation. You never know what you're going to get off the bench. So like I want to talk
sounds like
about the
Forrest
bench. I mean, you look at our bench and you're thinking like, okay, like they're an okay bench. They're not like the best like what we had back when we were making the finals, right? But I mean, this bench, especially this whole playoff run, they have surprised me
Oh yeah.
a lot, and I'm actually really happy with the bench that we have.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, Bashar?
I love the bench. They just bring so much effort. That I didn't have any. Again, going into the season, I'm looking at some of these guys on the bench. I'm like, I didn't have amazing high hopes, but like for example, for Otto Porter Jr., I mean, we missed him this past few games, but going into the season, I barely knew who he was. I'll be honest, but what a great addition to our team. He's doing excellent in the playoffs. Hopefully, it looks like we're probably going to get him back for the finals. A key guy off the bench that we've been missing is GP2. Just imagine how good our bench will look in the finals with GP2 in the mix. So, and Kuminga coming off the bench, Moody, Bielitsa, all these sleeper kind of players. But I just love it. I remember it was funny because I remember at one point in the season, at least towards the end of the season, people were trying to say that the Warriors kind of lacked identity because you have the veterans side of the team, and then you have these rookies and second-year players on the other side of the team, and they felt like there was no synergy or no chemistry because of that. But I mean, hey, things are looking good, man. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, exactly. Rohan, you have anything to add off of what Bashar said?
Yeah, specifically about Otto Porter. Now, I'd been following the NBA for a while. I knew Otto Porter from his time in the Wizards and his entire career. The one thing that I want to say about this Warriors team that we've seen over the past couple of years is just their uncanny ability, really, to transform these role players into stretch fives. Otto Porter had never played center prior to joining the Warriors. Otto Porter was a stretch four and really a three. Now you get these guys on the Warriors, even a Bielitsa, all these different guys, and just because we have such not an uncharacteristic offense, but an offense that's hard to master, you transform these guys into different roles and really expand on their skill sets, right? Because now not only is Otto Porter a 3-point shooter, he also is one of your main rebounders, right?
Oh,
It
yeah.
increases the physicality and things like that, and that's something that goes by unnoticed just because we're able to do it with so many different players. Hell, we even made Andre Iguodala, a guy who really couldn't shoot the ball that well, a 3-point shooter at some point in his career as well back then. And so that's something that I've seen with this group. And the last thing I want to bring up about the bench, this is really the first year in this 6 to 8 year stretch where that we've made the finals, that we've gone with a bench with a bunch of young players, right? Obviously, Wiseman's injured, but you had Moody, you had Kuminga. Normally, it's these aged veterans like a Sean Livingston or whoever. This is the first year where it was a bunch of unknowns, really, with Moody and Kuminga. And it's nice to see that in this small sample size that they've had, each one of them has had those certain games where they've paid off dividends for the Warriors.
Excellent, Rohan.
Yes. Corey, I'm gonna move on to
ahead, TJ.
you.
Go ahead, TJ. What do you guys say, bro?
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
go ahead.
speaking on the bench, I just want to put this question into the podcast. Do you think Jordan Poole is regressing?
No, he had a good game today. I don't think he's regressing. Yeah, I mean he was 6. What was he, 6 for 8 for the floor today?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And he's taking it to the hoop, and I love it when he takes it to the hoop.
Yeah,
it just brings so much another dimension to the offense, and I love it.
Okay, because I mean, when I say regressing, I mean he hasn't had any one of the takeover games.
Yeah, he did.
Kind of like
Well,
what he did
he
in
only
the
took
first round.
he only took 8 shots, so you can't expect the 25 and 30-point games on 8 field goals. But I want to bounce this off real quick of what Rohan just said. He was mentioning Otto Porter never playing center. Neither had Looney. Looney wasn't really considered to be a center at only 6'9". He, I think, as a freshman
right?
I was going to say freshman at UCLA, even in high school, he hadn't quite hit that growth spurt yet. He was actually
he was a guard
in the early parts of his basketball career, and he's turned into a rebounding machine. He doesn't have the quickness and everything, doesn't have the leaping ability, but he has been tremendous down the stretch in the regular season and obviously in the postseason as well. Gary Payton, the second I know, he hasn't played since the accident, and hopefully we'll get him back by finals time because we will need him, especially against a Boston who has a lot of ball movement, a lot of outside perimeter shooting, things like that. But he also mentioned the youth, which is a very good point. You had guys in the past like a Sean Livingston, David West, who I missed tremendously. I think David Lee was in there to start that run. A lot of really good role players that had a lot of experience on prior organizations. Mo Spates as well.
Mo Buckets.
And even though he was a starter,
Barbosa.
Andrew Bogut was really resurrected his career big time. You know, he was at Utah. He goes to Milwaukee. Can't remember if he was on any other team prior to coming to the Warriors in the Monte Ellis trade. JaVale McGee was another one. I mean, they had the depth was almost unfair back then. You knew the Warriors were going to get to the finals and through the West. It was, are we going to play Cleveland again? Is there going to be another team in the East that's going to step up? It happened to be Toronto in the last year there in 2019, but the Warriors were going to be there every single year. This was the biggest surprise, even more surprising than when the Warriors got to the finals the first time.
Yeah.
And the bench isn't, I think the bench, I'm not going to say is as impressive as it was back then, but I think it's mainly because of what Rohan's point was, is there's just not a lot of experience on there. But you come to a system that you can get all the pieces working together. You have Looney, who's pulling, 15 rebounds a game, it seems like now. You're going to get Otto Porter back, who was a monster at Georgetown. He gets drafted to the Wizards, and he kind of regressed a little bit from his college days, and it happens a lot. But he's resurrecting his career out here big time, and I love what I see off the bench. And obviously the starters with Clay, Dre, Steph, Wiggins is been enormous, and then obviously Kevon Looney. I love the starting five, but I love them 3, 4, maybe even 5 deep coming off the bench. It's going to be really scary for either Boston or Miami going into the finals.
You can almost say for Otto Porter, probably lack of inspiration is just due to being on a team like the Wizards. But when these vets cross over, the rest of the United States to the other side, on the West Coast, it's like once they get into that Warrior locker room, that Warrior facility, I think their eyes get big. They feel like they're a 22-year-old rookie again, and there's so much inspiration. They see all the hardware that we got, and how and just not just the hardware, but just the camaraderie, the culture that Draymond, Steph, Curry, all the Clay, all those guys just developed, and Curry even like. An aging vet comes to the Warriors, boom, and now you see Otto Porter Jr. and he has he's got that spring in his step, he's got that old man athleticism. So
and take Andrew Wiggins for that exact point as well. He gets drafted to Minnesota, doesn't work out. He goes to Cleveland. LeBron doesn't want him, and look who ends up with him. And because he's not the leader, because they're not expecting him to drop 30 a night, he's that role player. Even though he is an incredibly skilled offensive player and even more skilled defensive, he's such an underrated defender. It's almost sick. It's absolutely crazy to me that he doesn't get as much recognition on the defensive side of the ball, because I thought he guarded Luka as well as anyone I've seen all season. And Luka was as frustrated as you've ever seen him in the first half. 6 points, putting up all these shots, missing. Dallas was pretty much dead on arrival here for Game 5. They had a nice push to get it back to 8 or 9, but they never led in this game once. It was the Warriors wire to wire, and it was something to see. It got a little rugged there in the third quarter. They put up 32, which was their highest scoring quarter. They were dead even at 26 apiece there in the fourth, but they just didn't hit. They weren't able to force enough turnovers by the Warriors. The Warriors' ball movement was excellent. 11 turnovers just isn't going to get it done for an opposing team. Just not going to work.
Yeah. Um.
So,
Also, too, is everybody bashed on Wiggins when he got that All Star pick this season too, and then you kind of
he
saw that
regressed.
he had a slump right towards the second half of the season, but I mean during this whole playoff run, you see Wiggins picking right back up where he started during the first half of the season.
Go
And I feel
Wigs.
like he's like 100 times better right now than he was in the beginning of the season, with just the defending, the shooting,
Rebounds.
the rebounds.
Yeah,
Like
Shots,
he
shot
important
fights.
selection as
rebounds.
well. Taking better
Yeah,
shots,
he's
Yeah, I love
driving
that
to the
he
it's
hole.
tacks.
crazy. It's crazy.
I
Like
hope they keep him.
Those
the
dunks he's been having are just
mhm.
crazy. Like he had the
Yes,
one today that was very similar to the Luca one.
Him and
yep,
GP2.
Well,
yep.
that's what I'm looking forward to coming back. We're definitely going to need him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
I miss
It's
GP2.
it's looking like I'm thinking GP2 will be possibly ready by game one of the finals,
I hope so because
because they're saying that he is progressing, and I mean he hasn't used his left arm yet, but it's nothing but positive news so far. So
well they
Yeah,
say
So,
next
also
week.
too that Iguodala should be back too.
yes, Iggy should be
He
back as
might
well
be.
for the
really?
finals.
Well,
Wow.
he's got
Yeah.
he's got a neck issue. What does he have
Mm-hmm.
going on right now?
Yeah,
Neck
The
and
old
question
man
Yeah.
is,
stiff
though,
neck.
will they play
yeah.
Iguodala now that he's coming off 2.5 weeks and they have a good 7-8 man rotation? Do you play
Mm-hmm.
Iguodala and favor those two rookies? That's a good question now heading into the finals.
I don't
Just
think
with
you
the
should. Yeah, I don't think you should just because the moment. Sorry, but I think just the momentum, like right
Mm-hmm.
now, and how everything's gluing kind of together. I think I'd keep it on there. And Iggy's, great veteran to have, so you could just
I would
have him
play
on the
eight.
bench and have him be
the
that
defense
veteran
that
coach.
guy has had since day one is going to be very crucial if they can somehow get him back. I still think that's very optimistic there, TJ. I haven't. I read something earlier this week. I think that there was a chance, but I'm not as optimistic as the rest of you guys when it comes to Iguodala. Gary Payton needs to be back for game one, especially if it's against a team like Boston who guards extremely well. Their defense, they're very physical, and they're going to have a hard time getting down low, even though the tallest guy with Williams and is it Horford, both at like 6'10", a little bit taller than an Otto Porter or a Kevon Looney.
Williams is
But
6'7".
okay, there was a second guy, I can't remember who else was at 6'10" for him.
That's Williams. He's
Williams
6'8".
and I thought
I
there was
think
somebody.
Grant is 6'7", and then Robert is 6'9", 6'10".
Yeah.
So they have a little bit of size, and I think those backdoor cuts are going to get cut off rather early in this series. So I think it's just going to come down to three-point shooting, mid-range, and just penetration and trying to find the open man. Ball movement is going to be absolutely essential because I think we're all assuming
Well,
it's going to be Boston at this point.
just
Yeah.
speaking on Boston, where we do have a distinct advantage is our bench. Their bench is weak.
Mm-hmm.
Peyton, Derek White is decent. Is pretty decent, but that's really about all they have. Is Peyton and White coming off the bench.
But
So
the
we
thing is,
definitely
they're also streaky in that way, in that, like, it doesn't matter. It's a 7-game series, and you really just need 1 or 2 games where the bench heats up for you to take those games. Because when the two sides are so close and so similar in terms of the way that they're molded, with strong guard play, with overall ball movement and all of that, that's where it'll come down to. Just if they can get streaky for 1 or 2 games, it's up for grabs for sure.
I think
well
TJ. Go ahead.
what does scare me about them is that the defense and the rebounding can hurt us. That's where we're a little weak is the rebounding, especially keeping the more athletic forwards off the glass. That's the only thing that kind of makes us nervous, makes me nervous, is because if we have one of these cold streaks like we had against the Mavericks, where we went cold pretty much for a half or two, that's going to be kind of hard. We're going to get punished for that mistake against Boston. So, you know, that's one of the things that that does worry me about that matchup. I would much prefer Miami to pull a rabbit out their hat. You know what I mean?
TJ and I, like I said, have had many conversations over the phone in the last decade, but you did make a good point, and TJ, fill in the blanks here if I miss anything. If you look at Boston at the beginning of the season, they were just known for their defense. The offense really didn't come into fruition. You come maybe late, New Year's, January, or even post All-Star break, the offense just flurried, and that's why they ended up finishing some 26-6 or 26-7 down the stretch. My biggest question here is Boston, and I see them kind of regressing a little bit. I know they came out yesterday and looked pretty good. Is that offense going to be able to sustain? Are they going to be able to keep that offense going, especially against an elite defense like ours? Or are they just going to rely so hard on the defense that they're going to try to essentially keep the Warriors from like 100 points or somewhere in the low hundreds and try to win kind of the gritty backyard grudge matches? And that's kind of a question I would pose to you guys. I think that this series against Boston may come down to how well the offense for Boston executes. Because as you've seen, the Warriors can shut down even the best of the defenders. But I think for Boston, the margin of victory is so much smaller than what the Warriors have because the Warriors have such an elite defense and they are so deep off the bench and even the starters. I mean, I want to see, and I don't know if it's possible against a team like Boston, but I'd like to see Poole, Thompson, and Curry combined for 90. I can't wait to see those three just go absolutely rogue and just take a team completely out of the game. I think in the first series, I think they combined for one game at like 84. I said they can get to 90 against the Denver. They could get to 90 against Memphis.
That'd be a luxury.
They could have gotten to 90 against Dallas, and it never happened. Against an elite defense like Boston, I don't know if that's possible, but that's kind of the thing I'm trying to hold on to for the rest of this series, trying to get these last four. Can those big three just go absolutely crazy where it doesn't matter? And if all three of them are shooting well in a particular game, Boston's going to be in the worst trouble of their lives because you're only going to be able to double team one guy. If you're trying to double team Steph, that's going to leave Clay and Poole single covered or even wide open if the ball movement is there. I'm just saying, I would love to see the big three combined for 90 points one of these days.
You told me that before. I remember it stuck in my head. That's a cool stat. Brandon's going to play something for us, and when he's done playing that, I just want to make an announcement or whatever. So go ahead, Brandon.
All right. Give me a second.
What's going through your mind? We're back in the finals. I am on cloud nine, Kareth, and just incredible. I mean, everybody in this organization knows what we've been through the last few years. And, I was thinking about the days I was in Santa Cruz or I was on the rehab table and I dreamt of this moment. And we were written off by a lot of experts, quote unquote, but I knew we had it in us and we're going to celebrate this tonight. But we still want the whole thing. What's going through your mind, Rebecca?
That's right.
Clay deserves it.
Today was game 5, Clay, by the way.
Game 5. Exactly.
Game 5.
Okay. I'm switching gears a little bit because we have to, and we didn't acknowledge it the last show we did. So, of course, we're all happy about the Warriors, but this is something a lot more serious than the Warriors or anything that we've been going through in our daily lives for the most part. I mean, that tragedy in Texas should have never happened. It's terrible. 19 kids lost their lives, 2 adults. I might have lost for words. It's disgusting. It's sad. I mean, I have a niece and nephew in elementary school, and we all have somebody in our family that's at that age. So it sucks. It's terrible. But just give your prayers and your love to all the people who lost, the families where they had victims and they lost their lives, of course. And there was also a previous shooting in Buffalo. And we should never hear about shootings all the time. It's just ridiculous and it sucks. And Steve Kerr, shout out to Steve Kerr. He had a great press conference when the pregame press conference for the last game over in Dallas, and he didn't even talk about the game because he was just very disgusted and upset. So I just had to send this out because we didn't discuss it last time, and I didn't want to make it the whole show or anything like that, but I definitely had to acknowledge it. That's all.
Yeah, so let's just take a moment of silence real quick and just remember those who lost their lives, and get some prayers out. All right. John V says, been holding them close every day since man, just crushed. It's crazy. I myself was in a similar situation when the Garlic Festival shooting happened. I was running for my life. So that really affected me too when I heard about 19 kids losing their lives 2 days ago. So for sure sucks. Something needs to change, like Steve Kerr said, and yeah, it needs to happen. The Senate's need to do fucking something because this is ridiculous.
Yeah, they said they have a 90.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Bashar, didn't mean to interrupt there. I think one of the teachers who was shot, I think her husband just passed away today. As well.
He had a heart attack in reaction to it. It sucks. It's just terrible, man.
Yeah, that's horrible. So I wanted to move on to what else Clay said in the post game interviews. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen real quick. What it meant to him.
That man deserves it
to get back to the finals.
I ate a great breakfast, and before, I don't want to give away all my secrets, but before I even start my day, I just get up and I go jump in my 65-degree pool to wake myself up, and I'm so lucky to even have a pool. And then I just, play with Rocco. I play maybe some Nintendo, and I just try to not watch basketball or basketball media because I try to that's how I clear my mind, is just doing other things that occupy my time that are fun. And I have to keep this, routine going for the next series. I ate a great breakfast.
Okay, so there's that one.
Right?
Let's see. Here's what Draymond says about
incredible.
Clay.
That's. It's incredible. That's very resilient guy. He comes out tonight aggressive, 32 points.
Draymond's son.
Clay is a dog, and I've said it over and over again. He's going to fight. He's going to battle, no matter what it is. And most important thing to him is always to win. And to take the floor like that with a guy every night, you could see how much it was missing over the last couple of years. And to have him back and still not 100% back to Klay Thompson that we know, but working his way there, it's very special. And we're lucky to have him back next to us competing with us because we know, like I said, we know what we're capable of when he is there.
Let's see if there's any other ones. Let's see what Looney has to say.
Against Memphis, is that just Kevon? It's 18 rebounds tonight, 22 in the clincher against Memphis. Is that just something you're going to do in every clincher now?
That's the goal. That's my job. I go out there and rebound, and when it's time to close the series out, it's always going to be tougher. So you want to up your game. That's one area I can really affect the game and make a difference. And for tonight, I did a good job.
Kevon, it's 18.
All right, and then there's that one. Let's see what Dre says to the TNT crew.
I think both teams are still undetermined who you're going to play in the next round. Who would you like to play? I mean,
Be honest.
I think both teams are tough. Boston causes problems, especially offensively.
Draymond.
Their defense is incredible.
How long we been boys, Draymond? I want the honest answer, Draymond.
You're asking me who I want to play. I'm going to tell you who I think we're going to play. We're going to play Boston.
Okay,
that's who we're going to play.
Thank you. That's the Draymond I know.
We're going to play Boston.
We're gonna be wrapping. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Yeah. Let's piggyback off that question Draymond just said. So we've talked about this, a couple shows, but this goes for Rohan, 49er Media, and TJ. Who would you rather play, Miami or Boston?
I would rather play Miami. It'll be an easier game for us, to be honest. Get the chip.
Yes, sir.
Just from a basketball point of view, and like before, I was ecstatic when the Mavericks beat Phoenix because I knew it was a better matchup for us. So you want to be honest about it. Boston is going to be tough. I think we still can beat them. We still have some advantages that we can exploit. But from a pure matchup point of view, we're definitely Miami is definitely a better matchup for us. And basketball is about matchups.
Go ahead, Rohan.
Yeah, I mean, I agree if we're talking about matchups, right? Miami is the better matchup. I spoke about it earlier. Miami isn't one of the better rebounding teams. They were 22nd in the regular season in terms of rebounding. Offensively, they're extremely streaky. A lot of their players depend on that streakiness in a way to score. You talk about Tyler Herro, who was injured for a portion of this past series, and if the Miami Heat pull it out, he might not be 100%. You talk about Jimmy Butler, who's also facing an injury of sorts. A good amount of that team has been injured at times. So matchup-wise, I feel like the Heat might be the better matchup. But if we're talking about entertainment-wise, I definitely want the Boston Celtics. I think that series would be electrifying on both sides because you have two very strong defensive teams, two teams that can turn on the gas offensively, especially what we saw from Boston over those last 32 games. And then you also have two teams with fairly strong guard play, like guard and forward play, because I consider Tatum a 3, where that Brown-Tatum duo is there, but also you have pieces like Horford. And so while on paper the Warriors might be better, it really is just who dictates game pace and who gets on their flow earlier. Because Jason Tatum has that one bad game a series. That's something that I've seen. However, can you contain him for the rest of the other 4, 5, 6 games in that series? That's what's important. And so that's something that I'd like to see. However, if we're talking matchups, I agree that it would be the Heat.
How about you, Niner?
Yeah, I would love to play the Miami Heat for sure. Just because, again, like other people said, the matchup is, I think, a lot better. Also, I feel like Miami's bench is, some of the guys, of course, haven't been really showing up as much. So I think definitely there's a better chance that the Warriors would be able to win versus them. But also, Celtics, it would be so fun to watch the defensive battle. Yeah.
For sure.
For sure. Anybody have it? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Brandon.
Oh no, you go ahead first.
I was just saying if anybody had anything new, any questions or whatever. But if you got something, go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, because you didn't ask me to comment on this, I'll just stick my neck in and
Corey, go ahead.
My 2 cents. In. The one thing no one's really talking about with Boston is how injured they are. I can guarantee you that Marcus Smart will not be at 100% at any given point during the finals. The particular injury that he has, to the little bit of knowledge I know medically, is it really takes about a month for that type of injury to fully heal, and he doesn't have a month. He might have about 5 or 6 days if they end up closing it Miami out tomorrow at home. And if you watch the game 5, he looked like he was going at about 50% speed-wise. I mean, you couldn't even really get up and down. That ankle or foot is still really, really bothering him. Now, is he going to be able to play at a higher level than that with, say, a week off? Perhaps. But you still have Horford, who's been hurt. And you had, I can't remember who is There was another guy there that wasn't anywhere close to 100% at earlier in the series. This team is not anywhere near. Healthy.
Robert Williams.
Robert Williams was the other one. Thank you, Rohan. But it's gotten to that point where Boston will be the tougher matchup. There's no doubt about it. I think America would rather us face Boston just because I think it's going to be a more intriguing series. And this is a big if Miami can pull this out, I will be willing to bet you it's not going past 5 games. Miami is in a lot of ways a lot like Dallas, very streaky. The defense is okay. It's not great, and the bench is absolutely putrid. It's just going to be one of those matchups that is going to be a very, very boring finals because as long as the Warriors play their game, yes, I think Miami has a little bit more size and a little bit more physicality than, say, Dallas, but it's a matchup nightmare. We took we took both games from them. We did finish with the same record, but the tiebreaker did go head-to-head that we took both games, and we weren't playing anywhere near as healthy as we are. And I understand Gary Payton hasn't played since the Memphis series, and Otto Porter has missed the last couple of games, but it should be Boston. I would rather play Miami just because it is an easier series, but they always say to be the best, you have to beat the best, and Boston, to me, is clearly the best team in that conference.
All right.
I wanted to add that there's some 49er players in attendance. George Kittle, Deebo Samuel. I don't know who else. So the picture I saw was
check.
So Trey Lance wasn't with him?
I didn't see him.
Okay.
Also,
but hey,
Kittle,
good sign, right? Good sign, right?
There too.
Keeping the mojo out in the city. Absolutely.
Yep. So if you guys haven't yet already, hit that like, subscribe button for all your Dubs news. We'll be on again for the finals after game 1. So catch us then. But before we head out, if you haven't yet already, go over to our Twitter page. It's at GSW_podcast. Our Instagram page is locked in GSW podcast, spelled all the way out. Go over to our Twitch page, twitch.tv/locked in GSW podcast. And our YouTube channel, we're still trying to get up to 100 subscribers at least to actually get a website. But if you haven't yet, just spell out Locked In GSW Podcast on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. Other than that, John V says congratulations again, fellas.
What up, John V?
Thank you, John.
John V.
Respect, John. Respect.
Yes, sir. And before we end it, let's get this picture on right here.
Yep. Back in the
Yes,
finals,
sir.
baby.
Beautiful
Finals.
thing.
Yes, sir.
That's a beautiful
Yeah.
thing. And you got Jordan Poole right there in the middle. Love it.
Yes.
It's a splash party.
Absolutely love it.
Your 2022 NBA Western Conference Finals champions, the Golden State Warriors. All right, Dub Nation.
Dub Nation.
Back in the finals, baby.
Let's
Straight
go.
center.
Until the NBA Finals. We'll see you next time.
Whoop that trick.
Whoop that
Go
trick.
Dubs.
Let's not say that because
Memphis is long
we
gone.
know what happened.
Memphis is long gone.
Yeah. All right. Peace, guys.
Peace.
Peace.